Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Rogue Health Economist. It is great to be here and I'm super excited about today's episode. This week has been absolutely amazing. And what I wanted to do was just kind of give a recap of where we've been over the last 2.5 weeks to get to this episode today, which is going to hopefully blow the roof off. So I started this Rogue Health Economist podcast because I really wanted to share some of the concepts that I've been seeing through the lens of health economics, why I've spent the last 15 years innovating on the front end of functional medicine, community, technology, and all the areas that I've been working for the last few years. And so in the first week, we really looked at some of the microeconomic concepts that sort of were at the forefront of my thoughts in what I've learned over the last few years. We looked at negative externalities and externalities generally and how powerful externalities can be in an integrated system. We looked at diminishing marginal returns and how that plays into care. We talked about why functional medicine is an operating system that maximizes marginal benefit. And so that was sort of like the first structure in the first week. And then last week, we really got into the power of community, right? How do we access and use the power of community to transform our health systems? And this week, we've been hot on immune health. And on Monday, we heard from Christina Tidwell, who's one of our health advocates at Fine Functional. She has reversed her own chronic disease, and she talked about helping others reverse chronic disease. She talked about helping people helping people become their own advocate. And essentially what we really need in healthcare is people to become their own advocate. And at the beginning, that's difficult because we're living in this sort of patriarchal system. And so having the support of someone who can be your own advocate in the time when you're not able to be your own advocate is a big deal. And so that's, through that time, we announced the beginning of Fine Functional, which is that our portal at finefunctional.com/start, where you can get started with functional medicine for less than a copay and start your journey of self-discovery towards understanding yourself, towards regaining the locus of control to yourself, and start to understand how your body broke down over time and what it's going to take to heal it. And so that's the founding parts of everything that we've done so far. But ultimately, the one factor that I've been super excited about and what I spent all last year, I did 15 podcasts, I wrote a book, I did countless speaking engagements on the power of group medical visits. And I wrote it in this book called The Community Cure that came out January the 14th. I was interested to see that just a couple of weeks ago, the previous Surgeon General of the US, Dr. Vivek Murthy, came out with a book together, which was very similar. He was talking about the power of community, he was talking about loneliness, and he was talking really more in terms of kind of like the science and understanding it, whereas my book was really about how do we set up structures, how do we implement systems that can solve this problem, right? And that's why the group visit has been, on my, I've been into it for 7 years, but the last 2 years I've really been, that's all I've really talked about. I've been kind of obsessed with it, honestly, because what I see is that the group visit is able to bring together the best of functional medicine and the best of community-based care into an operating system for reversing chronic disease at scale, at primary care or pre-primary care. Like ultimately, the whole thesis is built on we need to find ways to reverse chronic disease pre-primary care, and we need a better system for dealing with chronic disease. And that system is made up of functional medicine as the operating system, coaching as the structure of helping people bring back their locus of control, and the third part is groups to be able to help people facilitate doing healthy behaviors and solving the biggest driver of all cause mortality, which is loneliness. So for all these reasons, this is where we've been. And I'm excited today to share that, when we had already started coming up with the idea for Fine Functional, I spent some time in India. And during that time in India, I just, really came clear to me, one, that this co-creation of health, right, that people working together to co-create health was undeniably the future, and our past actually, but our future. And that ultimately, what we really need to do is that this moment of COVID, like I flew back in from India at the last moment, just before, you couldn't travel anymore. And that ultimately, that the world was about to change, or the world was changed, and the world has changed, right? 2 months later, it's actually 2 months yesterday that I arrived. I realized that what we need to do was to use this opportunity when it would become clear the importance of immune resilience, where functional medicine would have its moment in the sun, where after all the dust has disappeared and all the shouting had gone on, people would realize you can't outwit the virus. You can't escape the virus. We can't escape viruses in our environment. And so what we need to do is build immune resilience. And that immunity was the key factor that brought all of these things together. And that was completely backed up by my experience with Jeff Bland on Tuesday, when I recorded episode 11, the last episode where we talked about immune resilience. And what Jeff shared there was, one, how the immune system, nervous system, and microbiome is the way that we interact with our environment. Those are the three parts of the body that how we interact with our environment. And if those three things are strong and healthy and in line and in tune and well, chronic disease is almost impossible. And when those things come off from their natural alignment, chronic disease is the obvious situation. And in some people, it might be cancer. In some people, it might be autoimmune disease. In some people, it might be digestive conditions. But ultimately, that was where the leverage was for transforming the future of healthcare. And I've talked about this on the Functional Forum for years, the power of the gut tube. But ultimately, Jeff shared there, the gut is a big part, but also, the microbiome, and then also, the nervous system and the immune system. So how are we going to bring this all together into something that could actually change the trajectory of healthcare? It has to be focused. It has to have health coaching and advocacy in there, patient advocacy in there to shift the locus of control. It has to have community in there, because we have to create structures that are affordable and accessible enough for everyone to get involved. It has to have technology involved, because we can't get together in person right now. And that's just the fact of where we are today. But the truth is that what we need to do is to combine all of those things into a structure that facilitates long-term immune resilience. And I'm super excited today to announce that starting at the beginning of June, we will be launching our Immune Collaborative. And the Immune Collaborative is a 12-week online program run by our health advocates to help you build immune resilience and become hard to kill. This is such an important thing, and I feel like really, really enthused to be able to bring this to you, because I know almost everyone in the world needs this. And ultimately, this has come together in such a serendipitous way to be able to make this available for you and for everyone around the world. And, last year we did some experiments in online virtual group visits in our Practice Accelerator program. And we learned like what works, what doesn't work. How do you facilitate people to create connections online? How do you help people support each other in a digital environment? And, all of that, plus all the learnings from the book, brought this together. And we are super excited to be launching this here at the beginning of June. And we will start new entry points at the beginning of every month. So just to give you an overview of what the Immune Collaborative is. First of all, it's led by our health advocates. And our health advocates have a few things in common. One, they're all trained in functional medicine. They speak the language of functional medicine. Two, they've reversed a chronic disease, either in themselves or in a member of their close family. So they've walked down that path just like you. And three, they are inspired to be part of a movement to transform healthcare and are excited about working in a group environment. So, the biggest thing that this journey is going to provide in this 12-week online program, first of all, is clarity and direction on your personal health journey. Like part of this process that we're going to take you through is really starting to understand yourself, understanding where your health started, where your health is now, and what journey happened in the meantime to get you where you wanted to go. And ultimately, really understanding who you are, where you came from, why you got sick is just a really an important part of being human. And some of the best comments that I've had from people that I've referred to functional medicine over the years is that has been the greatest gift to them, to really understand their own physiology, to really understand, how things went from here to there. And I think that is the foundation of everything. The other foundation is really getting clear as to what is your vision and your goals. One of the things that was said to me once is that a group visit is like having 15 unpaid health coaches support you. And that's what you're in. If you're in a group of 15 people, ultimately you're going to have the health advocate there, but you're going to have 15 other people or 14 other people that are going to have your back. People who, in the first meeting, you're going to be able to share not just what you want to do, but why you want to be healthy. Not just the health you want to achieve, but what your purpose is for doing it. And what we found time and time again, and I've heard this in everyone that I interviewed for this book on the community cure, is that the most important thing is that there is a shared intention of support around people's purpose for being well. And if we can engage that purpose, not just for you, but for everyone else, that's really important. The third thing you're going to get from the Immune Collaborative is answers to all the questions you have. Integrative, functional, naturopathic, lifestyle, preventive, predictive, all of these words for this new iteration of medicine essentially all come down to the same thing. It's about the patient being in control, the patient participating in their journey. It's about getting to the root cause of the condition, and it's about doing the lifestyle stuff first. And so ultimately, if you have any questions about anything you've heard about, like if you've heard of different therapies, different tools, like not only will you understand them, but you will understand, is it right for you? The beauty of the functional medicine operating system is that it prioritizes integrative interventions. So is a chiropractic adjustment being a good fit for you? Maybe, possibly, do you have symptoms associated with structural disalignment or nervous system disalignment? If you don't, then maybe not. But if you do, then you probably should. So that this prioritization system allows it to individualize care and prioritize certain interventions. The fourth thing you're going to get is community support from people who are going on a similar journey. And this is the most crucial part of healthcare that is completely missing from the system. The power of peer-to-peer is absolutely critical. It is the one resource in healthcare that we have an unlimited amount of, and we don't use at all. And what I saw time and time again when I was writing this book is that the most important people in a group visit were the people who had already started to make progress towards their goals and could show people who were just getting started that this was worth it. And that's why we have those health advocates running the group, but everyone else in the group is going to be at different stages. Maybe some people, are just trying to escape a friendship group that doesn't support their healthy choices, right? If you're doing pizza night on Fridays and you're drinking all weekend and you suddenly get an autoimmune disease, you can't be friends with those people. You can be friends with them, but you can't participate in the things that you used to participate in if you want to recover. And so providing community support from people who are going through a similar journey, I've been saying for 6 years, the most powerful thing that we can do is to introduce people who want to get healthy to each other. And the Immune Collaborative is the place to meet those people who understand you, to understand that you're not alone to the journey. And ultimately, the reason why this is called the Immune Collaborative and why this is relevant for everyone is that the immune system is the thing that brings together all chronic disease. And this was what Dr. Bland shared that was so perfect yesterday in our episode 11, is that this junction of the immune system, the nervous system, the microbiome, those three things, the function level of those three things affects everything else. And you could see it so clearly with COVID, right? In that who's dying and who's getting infected from COVID. That was in one of the first episodes of the Rogue Health Economist too. It's to do with your total lifetime exposure, right? And the total toxic exposure from all kinds of sources, internal and external. And that's in episode 1. You can check it out. It's called the exposome, right? It's about the permeability of the gut. And there's all these other factors that affect it. And ultimately, these are modifiable in nature. Like you can improve these factors. And ultimately, if you see like people with type 2 diabetes, people with heart disease, these are risk factors for dying from COVID. You have less immune resilience when you have these issues. So people with those kind of conditions are a perfect fit for the Immune Collaborative. Also, people with any mental health conditions, because the gut-brain axis and this bidirectional axis is a huge part. One of the things you're going to learn in the Immune Collaborative is how to regulate your emotions, to be able to, create that kind of emotional literacy around trauma. The Immune Collaborative is trauma informed. The next thing that the next group that it's perfect for is anyone with any sort of autoimmune disease, or if you're on the way to getting an autoimmune disease, if you think you might be en route to getting an autoimmune disease, and there are tests that you can do to determine whether you are producing antibodies. And so ultimately, we'll be taking you through that process of understanding where you are. All of these chronic diseases have a pre-phase, right? Pre-diabetes is the easiest to understand, but all of these chronic illnesses have a pre-phase. And ultimately, you can start to see if you are pre-autoimmune, pre-cancer, pre-heart disease, pre-type 2 diabetes by going through a process of understanding yourself. So, all of these chronic illnesses, and then if it's just things that don't yet have a name, right? Fatigue, right? That's the biggest thing that we see time and time again. People coming in to functional medicine with is they're fatigued and they don't know why, and their labs are normal. That can be, a big issue, any kind of hormonal complaint. And, ultimately through this process, it's a fit for anyone in any of those categories. And it's also a fit for people who need a supportive community to be healthy. Like if you are doing healthy behaviors, or you were before you were locked in your house, and now you're looking for a structure to be able to actually facilitate healthy behaviors and have accountability and support to do those kind of things, we can facilitate that in a virtual environment. And the other exciting thing is this is available to anyone, anywhere in the world. Anywhere that you can get online and you can use tools like Zoom and you can use the internet, maybe not North Korea, but anywhere else in the world, this is available. And this is, why we created this, is so that people can have access to this newest iteration of care, and in an effective, accessible, affordable way. So the Immune Collaborative is launching. The biggest thing that you're going to get is you're going to become your own advocate. It's not good. It's going to be getting away from taking care of your health being a full-time job. You're going to be able to take your health back into your hands with the support of an online community. It's not going to be happening in Facebook where you're sharing all your personal secrets and then that's all being mined by Mark Zuckerberg for money. This is going to be happening in a HIPAA compliant, safe environment. You're going to be able to connect with your coach regularly. You're going to be able to connect with all the people in your group regularly. And ultimately, not only is this facilitating health, not only is this something that can introduce people who want to get healthy to each other and create lifelong friendships, but we're also making jobs for health coaches. People who have decided, most health coaches have come into this world because they got sick, they reversed their own chronic illness, and they wanted to help other people do the same. And so ultimately, the biggest thing of why we created this is we want to be able to reward those people with, jobs where they can work and they can take care of their family, and we can create a new industry that is built around people helping other people get healthy. And nothing is more efficient than group delivered care, because the power of peer-to-peer delivery, having an accountability buddy, checking in with other people in your group regularly to see how they're doing. If I have an insight and I share it into the group and other people get value from that insight, those, my friends, are positive externalities. And in an integrated whole system, positive externalities are everything. Positive externalities are what make the world go round. And that's why 15 years ago, I moved to work in a business that I see has a lot of negative externalities, investment banking, and threw myself into integrative medicine, functional medicine, because I saw that at the cross-section of health and education and personal empowerment is where the biggest positive externalities occur. So I'm super excited for you to find out more about the Immune Collaborative. If you want to get started, the best place to go is to go to findfunctional.com/start. Book a time with your health advocate. You can get a discount there on the page. And ultimately, whatever you pay for that session will be taken off the cost of the Immune Collaborative. We want everyone to come through that channel so you have a chance to meet your new health advocate, and you can find out, have any of your questions answered, and go through the process. So you go to findfunctional.com/start. I'm just super excited. This has been something that I feel has been like welling up within inside me for years. All of the knowledge, all of the understanding of the industry. The last 2 years I spent like really understanding the power of group visits. Now in a moment when none of these group visits are happening around the country because of the lockdown. And so here's a structure. In my book, the virtual group visit was something that I talked about as the future of healthcare. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the current of healthcare. It is the future, but starting June 1st, you can get into one of our immune collaboratives and you can make yourself hard to kill, right? There's going to be a lot of conversation over the next 6 months about a second wave. There's going to be a lot of fear about what's going to happen later this year. And, there'll be a lot of fear porn going on on the internet and through the news, and ultimately creating a community of people that can support each other in getting healthy and staying healthy is the number one thing that we could all be doing. And that's what I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life doing, which is really facilitating functional medicine at scale. And this is one of the ways that we're going to do that. So I really look forward to answering any of your questions about it. You can put the details in below. Next week, we'll have all the details of it where you can sign up. But if you are interested in finding out more, go to findfunctional.com/start. Come and join us. It's going to be a really transformative thing for you, for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your neighborhood, for every other person you interact with for the rest of your life. I really appreciate your time and attention. Thanks so much for being with me, and we'll see you next time.